Welcome back to the bulletin. We want to begin with our summaries. We've got a story of fuel stations using digitally controlled dispensers to shortchange consumers, and MTN Nigeria shuts stores after anti-South African attacks. Details next.
The total value of mobile money transactions for the first 6 months of this year reached 140.2 billion cedis, up from the 104.6 billion cedis recorded in the same period in 2018. Data released by the Bank of Ghana shows that this represents a 34% rise in the value of transactions recorded for the period under review. Meanwhile, the patronage of checks for the first half of this year witnessed a drop compared to the same period last year. A $25 million starch factory project under construction in the Pruwest district of the Blue East region is expected to employ over 3,000 people, Stephen Jalula, district chief executive, has said. He disclosed this on a working visit to the factory site, which is part of government's One District, One Factory initiative. It has emerged that about 30% of fuel stations in the country are using digitally controlled dispensers that are easy to adjust to alter the quantity of fuel dispensed to buyers. This makes it easier for fuel attendants and their superiors to cheat unsuspecting consumers without tampering with the well-publicized security seals installed on the nozzles of fuel pumps, a highly placed source at the Ghana Standards Authority has confirmed to the graphic business. The Nigerian division of South African telecom operator MTN said on Wednesday it will shut all stores and service centers in the country until further notice after its facilities in 3 cities were attacked. The facilities were attacked in retaliation after days of riots in South Africa, chiefly targeting foreign-owned, including Nigerian businesses. Meanwhile, South African grocer Shoprite Holdings also said several stores in its home market, Nigeria, and Zambia were closed and extensive damage had been done to several supermarkets over the past 24 hours. Google has agreed to pay a record of $170 million penalty to settle accusations that YouTube broke the law when it knowingly tracked and sold ads targeted to children, the Federal Trade Commission said Wednesday. The settlement involves the largest ever penalty under the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which YouTube allegedly violated by collecting user information from kids to fuel its behavioral advertising business.
Very disturbing scenes from South Africa, but back home here in Ghana, businessman Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom is moving fast to halt liquidation of GN Savings and Loans. His lawyers have filed an application in court to stop the receiver, Eric Nana Nipa, from going ahead with the liquidation process. George Affe has been following up on this. He joins me in the studio. So just for our audience, George, a quick background to how we've gotten here.
So, Dara, you remember that Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom is still arguing that he believes that the Bank of Ghana's action on his financial institution was not ill-timed or whatever. And the fact is that he believes that if Bank of Ghana had allowed it a little bit of time, it would have been able to raise the requirement, because government actually owes it millions of, or 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. So he filed a case in court, I think, last week, trying to question or challenge the process and then allow them to address all the problems and all those things. Now, today we understand that he also filed a fresh application in court that was done on Monday, seeking to stop Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Finance, Attorney General, and the receiver from going ahead with the process to try and liquidate the bank. Because don't forget that the Bank of Ghana has just taken the license. So in terms of winding up the company, it's still work in progress.
All right. So tell us a bit more about the case GN Savings and Loans lawyers making against the Bank of Ghana.
So they are saying that if the Bank of Ghana had taken its time and allowed them to actually recover their debts owed them by government and other contractors, they would have been able to improve their liquidity position, and they would be able to meet the Bank of Ghana's requirement of maybe improving their capital position as well as liquidity. So he believes that because the Bank of Ghana didn't give them that adequate time to work on those things, it's more of an injustice. And that is why this particular case, even the fresh one, has been filed by the Human Rights Court, trying to question more of the process. Give us time. But the argument is that if you read through the statement of claim, is that maybe by the time the case will be heard, the various actors, government, Attorney General, may have or might have finalized that process of liquidating GN Savings and Loans. So they are filing a fresh case in court that, listen, whilst you are waiting to determine the finality of this case, hold on with all your actions, coming in, closing up the offices, taking over the assets, selling them, paying off all those things. Freeze that whilst we try and determine the finality of this case, whether what you did was wrong or right.
All right, and in all of this, timing is important. As you mentioned, I mean, the regulator is also doing everything possible to ensure that depositors are paid. Yeah. So how long do these things last? Is this going to drag?
Well, Dara, I mean, if you follow certain cases in court, some I've been traveling over 2 years and 3 years, but we don't know how both lawyers would argue their case in court. And if you go through the statement of claim, they're looking at September 6th. That should be possibly this Friday that let's determine this case. If the court rules in favor of Windhoek, it's a test case for the other players as well, that those who also thought that they've been said some sort of injustice. So it means that if they rule in favor of Windhoek, then we have a really long way to go in terms of this whole litigation. Whether it has to go through the normal court or it has to go through arbitration. Quite interesting times ahead for all of us.
Right, George, we'll keep watching that. Thanks for the update on the fact that lawyers for GN Savings and Loans are trying really hard to halt the liquidation process. Now, another important development within the financial space, 4 auditing firms that were sanctioned for roles played in the collapse of some banks could have lost their licenses. This is what we picked up from persons close to the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana. There is more in the following report.
Joy Business is learning all the 5 accounting firms investigated were given the opportunity to respond. Sources say in some instances, hearings were dragged just to accommodate the firms that had issues with the findings of the fact-finding committee. We also understand that some of the firms sanctioned could have lost their licenses. That is, if the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana has stuck to their regulations that guides the profession. However, after several engagements, and based on the fact that it is the first time that some of them were caught up in this challenge, they were rather fined. This is despite pleas from some of them that it was too high, whilst others thought that they should have rather been warned. This is because of the impact of this announcement on their business. Sources say the hearings and the engagement were done in a way that none of the firms can come out later and accuse the institute of not being fair. But financial consultant and chartered accountant Dr. Daniel Sedo tells Joy Business the auditing firm should not take the blame alone, even though he fully supports the action of the institute.
The whole financial system and audit itself is built on trust. What we are seeing is that we do not have that trust in this industry. We don't have enough of it. So we need to rebuild. I think we need to get to ground zero and rebuild this whole thing. It's not like the banks did the right things and the auditors did the wrong things. For most of these cases we've all read about, the banks themselves misconducted themselves and some of them tried to get the auditors to give them clean bill of health. And in some instances, with the support of the regulator. So that is where the challenge is coming from, assuming the banks did the right thing. There'll be no problem. There are other banks in this country who are being audited by the same auditors. How come they didn't have a challenge? So the problem really is not necessarily about the auditors doing bad job. Yes, the problem for me is coming from the directors of the financial institutions we have.
We're also learning that in some cases, the auditing firms were pressured by regulators to pass the accounts of these banks when they were not supposed to do so. In a later development, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana says it took the action to help protect the profession's integrity. It argues that as a body charged with regulating the accountancy profession, it is committed to high standards. The Institute, however, said that it regrets that some of the members did not meet the appropriate standards as prescribed in the international standards on auditing the course of duty as auditors. It also maintained that the said infractions of these firms did not lead to the collapse of these 7 commercial banks.
Now, the Bank of Ghana is directing deposit-taking institutions to demand identification for withdrawal and deposits into accounts on behalf of another. According to the central bank, the move is part of measures to check the activities of money launderers in the country. This should mean that without providing your identification, any bank or deposit-taking institution might not accept monies that you're placing in someone's account. In other news tonight, the Ghana Revenue Authority is embarking on an operation to publish names of businesses and individuals that fail to honor their tax obligations after several warnings. Ebenezer Sabute was at the launch of the campaign and filed this report.
The campaign, dubbed Operation Collect Name and Shame, aimed at helping the Revenue Authority collect all taxes due the state. According to the Ghana Revenue Authority's tax force, their inability to collect these taxes has impacted negatively on the end-of-year revenue targets. National Coordinator of the tax force, Ken Trinibu-Akodua, believes the performance will be improved before the end of the year with the introduction of the campaign.
So to hover around 7.7, you can understand how the situation is. And for customs, we are around 24.4. This is unacceptable. We admit that certain policies that came didn't work in our favor. Policies that were supposed to make businessmen, especially importers, even grow their businesses by way of the benchmark value and the paperless policies. Businessmen still found it necessary to do the wrong things at the port. And all of these things have gone a long way to affect customs revenue. So this operation is attempting to help reverse this huge negative deviation for customs revenue.
He also has some advice for tax defaulters.
Once you have withheld a taxpayer's money, then you are under obligation to remit it to GRA. So whatever is making you keep the money, it is not our business. Once the taxpayer has paid you, you give him a contract, you took the tax thereon from his money, that money doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to GRA. So that money should come to GRA within some number of days. If they are still with you, you are coming for those monies plus penalties. That's the issue we are talking about. And for those who are clearing at the port, misclassifying their goods so they get lower duties, misspecifying their goods so they get lower duties, and for some reason even reducing the volumes. And we have clearing agents also at the port who are aiding some of these things. Not all of them. We have very good ones among them. But a few ones who are also aiding these things, we'll get them.
The authority will embark on its first operation before the end of next week. Ebenezer Sabute's report for Joy Business.
Meanwhile, Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Emmanuel Kofi, says the authority is determined to meet revenue targets for this year.
Revenue performance has not been as expected in the course of the year. For this reason, it is prudent to use all legitimate measures to shore up revenue. One measure we have agreed to use from now till the end of the year is to deploy a task force made up of members of organized labor in GRA to the front lines. I'm talking of members from the Public Services Workers Union, PSWU, and the Ghana Revenue Authority Workers Union, GRAU. Management greatly appreciates the offer of organized labor to deploy their members to retrieve outstanding taxes from taxpayers. This attests to the fact that whether organized labor or management, we are in the same boat and we sink or swim together. We have dubbed the work of the task force Operation Collect, Name and Shame. And Mr. Trinibu-Akodua did elucidate the nature of the work, the collect, name and shame. This is to reiterate the point we have made since 2018, that for us in GRA, it is not going to be business as usual. The task force is to collect houses that are overdue, publish in the media the names of businesses that are proving recalcitrant to settle their tax debts, and in the process, show them as spectators, but not as citizens of our dear country.
Business Live. Now, the International Chamber of Commerce Ghana is pushing for more resources for exporters to help improve earnings from non-traditional exports. This follows a 10% jump in Ghana's earnings from NTEs to hit $2.8 billion. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Emmanuel Donikwame, tells Joy Business the figures show that exporters could have improved greatly with little support.
The aspect of trade facilitation in the AFCFTA, it's more or less similar to the one in the WTO agreement. So by implementing this, we end up implementing both. And what have we done so far? At the port, we have the single window, we've gone paperless. It's not an event, it's a process. So we always have to monitor to be sure, whatever the Vice President said, that get more goods on the green zone. We make sure we have more goods in the green zone so goods are cleared quickly. And then the aspect of risk management is also looked at. Security issues are also looked at. So going forward, we have a new Terminal 3, a well-efficient port, which we think is even bigger for our market. But with the AFCFTA coming into place, yes, a lot of transshipment can go through Tema. People can bring smaller boats and pick goods. But the end result is for us to produce a lot of made in Ghana goods, under the 1D, 1F. That's the only way out. We can't have this huge port, have all the TFA thing working when we are not producing a lot of goods for export,
All right, we are talking about non-traditional exports. After this break, we have the Joy Business van coming up. We'll take a look at the shea nut industry. Welcome back to Business Live. Time to bring you our Joy Business Van episode for tonight. The shea nut industry in Ghana is thriving and demand for the crop, especially in the cosmetics industry, keeps increasing. Today on the Joy Business Van, we meet Mariam Najia, Chief Executive of Sariam Company, which exports tons of shea butter products to Saudi Arabia every month. Here's the story. Ghana earned over $14 million from the export of shea butter products in 2018. Shea products are the fourth non-traditional export earner, with hundreds of thousands of farmers benefiting from it. And it's not just the farmers, but entrepreneurs like Mariam Najia. We've come to a manufacturing center at Media in Accra. Sariam Company Limited, producers of Malex natural skincare products, started in 2009 as a small detergent manufacturing business. Then she made a shift to cosmetics.
And foreigners care more about quality than quantity or the packaging, though the packaging counts. But once they try good package and they don't get good products, they now come to us and they see our product is quality to the standard they want. So now they decided to help us to get to their standard.
And why not cosmetics? Shea nuts are in abundance in the northern regions of Ghana, and international demand for it is increasing, especially from cosmetics companies. With a little research and some experimenting, Mariam got working producing shea butter and black soap.
For the shea butter, we source the shea nuts from the northern sector of Ghana, which is the 3 northern regions. Then we bring them here. We wash them first. After washing, we dry. When it's dry, we crack. After cracking, we fry it. After frying, we then grind it. And then add little water and knead it. After kneading, we boil. And then we get the butter, sieve, and keep it to a cool temperature.
Mariam got feedback, and along the way, she would be connected with a Saudi Arabian cosmetics company to supply her products. That was a breakthrough.
Actually, when we started our capacity, we didn't really have money for packaging, but we targeted the quality. And foreigners care more about quality than quantity or the packaging, though the packaging counts. But once they try good package and they don't get good products, they now come to us and they see our product is quality to the standard they want. So now they decided to help us to get to their standard.
In 2016, her company received funding support from the UK government through TechnoServe under its multi-year project engine. That, Mariam says, helped in purchasing machinery and boosting production. Then in 2017, Her firm got recognition as Best Agro-Cosmetics Company at the SME Ghana Awards organized by Imaginate Company Limited. Mariam has faced some major setbacks, including a fire outbreak and flooding that destroyed many of her products.
Initially, when I started, I was doing it in my house. So my house got burnt and I lost everything. Though it was a starting stage, so the items involved were not that much. I think I lost close to 10,000 worth of product, physical cash and other things. But I didn't give up. I started again. So I won the awards, I got machineries, I started supplying big time. So I was having a lot. Then the flood also came in. So I took it as part of business risk. If you don't cross them, you won't get to where you are going to. So I didn't give up, honestly.
Thanks to the insurance she won as part of her SME Ghana Award package, she gradually recovered. But that taught her a lesson: to insure her business and be prepared for any disaster. That's something most SMEs don't factor in their plans. Because her target is a foreign market, Mariam has to ensure her products always meet international standards, and that is another challenging bit.
When it comes to the shea butter, you can bear with me that you buy from some people, the colors are not unique. You see, this is deep, this is very light, this is lighter, this is very deep. Sometimes some of the colors don't even. And once a foreigner opens this and opens this and opens this and realize they are not unique, it means the product is not good. Though when it comes to we in Ghana, they really don't care. But for the foreign market, they are so much concerned on that. And we are able to come out with all the standards. That we always come out with a unique color, unique quality, unique packaging and everything.
Mariam is also making headway in getting her products to other markets like the US and Europe. Now she's aiming at full automation of her products, which would increase production from 20 tons to 60. Mariam believes Ghana can make so much from shea nuts if more investments are made in growing the industry. All right, you can always watch our Joy Business Van episode on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. That's it for Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Darryl Kwa. We'll be back same time tomorrow.